14:34 Moscow time. We are online from Manish from Moscow Urban Forum. Our next guest will read the wonderful lecture. The name of the lecture is Piero Pellizzaro. He will talk about who will tell us about resilience. So, what are the anti-crisis solutions in management of health and urban health? Of course, a response to fast spread of infection in all towns, impressed by its scale and coherency, towns of all the world effectively made measures to deal with the pandemic. This includes the closure of borders, deployment of a large number of hospitals to process information or take in patients, including attempts to save patients that were taken together with private clinics. And this was important for the whole humanity. And this is about the resilience. And these tests we passed in 2020. It is very significant and illustrative, and this is exactly what we will be talking about now. What anti-crisis solutions to organize urban environment can affect the health and well-being of citizens? Piero Pellizzaro will talk about this with us. He is the Chief Resilience Officer in the municipality of Milan. Piero Pellizzaro has 10 years of experience in climate change policies and urban planning for sustainable development. Currently, he is Milan's Chief Resilience Officer and city lead for the MUF2020 Lighthouse project Sharing Cities at the municipality of Milan. The Sharing Cities project is an international collaboration between industry and cities in close cooperation with European Innovation Partnership on Smart Cities and Communities. Piero Pellizzaro is an advisor of the Italian Minister of Environment, Land and Sea on urban adaptation policy to climate change. And Mr. Pellizzaro is the co-founder of Climati, a specialist Italian climate change adaptation consultancy, where he serves as a resilience specialist. Mr. Pellizzaro was an associate with Acclimatize, a company with the mission of making the world more resilient to climate change. Piero is a member of the European Commission Mayors Adapt Working Group, tasked with engaging cities to act to adapt to climate change, and a member of FIRA 2016 Working Group on the implementation of climate policy. He writes for different magazines on climate change and is a member of a working group, Major Adapt, which was created by European Commission to make climate work to deal with climate change. So one may ask, what does climate change has to do with resilience? Well, they have a lot in common, and Piero Pellizzaro will tell us about this. So, Piero, the floor is yours. Nice to meet you, Piero.
Nice to meet you, and good morning and good afternoon, everyone. And thanks to invite me over for these events and for the introduction. So you ask what is resilience and how resilience could be linked to climate change. Climate change is one of the major risks that the global Earth is facing at the moment, together with the pandemic, together with other economical social crises. And when we look at climate change as a risk for our built environment in terms of infrastructures continuity, or for our business continuity or economy, or even when flash flooding or heat waves is affecting the health of our population, is when it comes to urban resilience, has the ability of individuals, communities, institutions, and business to survive, adapt, and grow regardless of what chronic stress and acute shock they suffer. So it's resilience, it's not the solution. Resilience is a capacity, is a capability that all of us as individuals, as a community, we implement when something is affecting our everyday life. And then climate change is one of these events. So when we look at implementation of resilience, as the city of Milan, we have designed and developed a Milan resilience strategy. At the beginning, we have a look at the preliminary evaluation of resilience. So which kind of shock and stress are affecting our cities, in particular Milan? We have identified among shock. The shock is something that it happened, that it was not expected. So the community, through our participatory process, have identified flawed infrastructure system collapse, for example, as two of the main shock of the streets of the city. On the other hand, we have looked at the stress of the cities. And then it's quite interesting how the city of Milan seems to be now get use of heat waves. So stress has something that it's repeatedly happened in the cities, has air quality is a stress for the city of Milan. So looking at the shock and the stress guide us through identify the different thematic areas that the resilience strategy is looking at. We have Milan as water cities. As you know, Milan has three rivers. These three rivers are covered at the moment because we need to create in the past space for cars. But now we want to reopen. So how the reopen of the canal in Milan could lead a more sustainable, a more sustainable and more livable cities, but at the same time, how using the groundwater is a big opportunity for us for the environmental transition and to reach the carbon neutrality before 2050. Then we have Living Milan. Living Milan is how we can improve the quality of the built environment, especially in the peripheries, especially in the peri-urban area of the cities, where the vulnerable population is located and where they are more affected by climate change, for example. Then we have Cool Milano. That Cool Milano is not because we're supposed to be the capital of fashion and design, but Cool Milano because the city of Milan has seen an increase of 3.3 degrees between 1951 and 2017 at the urban scale. So we need to cooling down the cities. Then we have Circular Milan, looking at the circularity, the circular economy, how we should improve the reuse of our resources. So it's linking the waste management and the the innovation that the environment is built in Milan and the economy of the startup that are based here in Milan. Then we have Safer Milan, how we can improve the safety in terms of cyber attack and in terms of flooding of Milan. And next task is how we're planning the future of the cities in terms of infrastructures, how we should move, how we can implement this. So we have identified three different pillars: procedure and services, space and infrastructures, and community and population. Because having an inclusive, aware, and proactive communities is one of the key elements of every kind of public policy when we look at the urban resilience at the city scale. So what we are doing, for example, so giving to the practice. The city of Milan has 1.4 million inhabitants, with an increase of population that it seems it's almost 50,000 people coming to Milan every year. So we are seeing an increase of the population. When we see an increase of population with a limited space, the city of Milan is quite small. It's only 181 square kilometers. So we need to look at the different opportunities of space. One of the space we have in the city, a roof. The roof, it could be used for different purpose, to recover space for business or for the energy and the climatic transition. So we have looked at the energy potential of all different kind of roof. So as you can see on the map, we have mapped all the roof. We look at the different infrastructures needed of the roof. And now we are launching this platform where a citizen or a developer could look at the roof and say, if it is red, we can have a PV system. If it is blue, we can work on the water management system in terms of recovery water. If it's green, we can work on the green roof. And when you have a green roof, then you can also maybe even create a bar, a restaurant, or other kind of commercial activities. If it's gray, it's a mix of different solutions. If it's yellow, it could be used only for kind of social initiatives. So you can have a space when a community could talk and be together. Then we also look at the city, how we should make more way for the environment at the city scales. One of the tools we have used last year, we have been working on the master plan of the city, the vision through 2030. And one of the pillars of the city was identifying new green infrastructures, new blue infrastructures, and new parks, and how this could be make possible with collaboration with the private sector, but as well with the use of public funding. And so we are mapping all different infrastructures, and then what you can see on the screen is what we build in the near future. What is important here, that the city of Milan is offering flash flooding. All these kind of measures in the areas that are mapped, that also helping us to depave the city, so remove concrete and increase the permeable soil, because we need to reduce the increase of water when flash flooding event is happening. So this is the first element. Working on build a better environment is also useful to create an inclusive society, but on the other hand, is also helping us to adapt to the climate change. So the Article 10, that is one of the measures that is leading to this kind of transformation, it's an innovative index that the City of Milan has introduced for the developers and for everyone who want to basically regenerate a built environment or for maybe maintenance in their building. The Article 10 is introducing a climate impact index. So until now, we always see building, how the building is impacting on the existing environment. Now this index is also how the new building could impact on the reduction of climate change impact. How we have made this possible? It was possible because we create and we make mandatory now that for all new building, you should integrate green roof, vertical facade, the green vertical facade, or increase the permeable areas around the building that is being constructed. So this is an important tool that is leading through the 2030 to increase the green space that help us to to mitigate the impact of heat waves on the side, and on the other side, increase the permeable areas of the cities to the flash flood. And both of these measures are also have a main impact. It is on the health of our community, because having more green is also helping to reduce the air pollution and increase the comfort of our population outside and inside the building. That is essential. The other is the Forestami program. 3 years ago, we have launched this initiative to plant 3 million trees before 2030 in the metropolitan area of the cities. This is meaning an increase of the 80% of the tree canopy and the simulation of more than 5 million tons of CO2 per year. But what is important for Forestami, that it's increasing the green areas, especially when before we were street, when before we was gray, is also an opportunity to increase the quality of the built environment for our commercial activities. And it's pretty demonstrated. More green is meaning also an increase of the economy, because that is leading the population to work more and to consume more in the city. This Forestami program is a joint initiative together with the metropolitan government, with the two main parks, the northern park and the southern park of the city, and the regional government. But is also based on the participation on the private stakeholders, because we are collecting sponsorship and donation by private companies that want to contribute to the future of these cities, because they know that a better city that it's can guarantee the business community, the business continuity for their activities. It's also a guarantee that the economy here is stable and safe. The other element, we also work on Piazza Aperte, the open square. The open square is a tactical urbanism initiative that taking the space, as you can see on the background, this picture, this was before a sort of known place when normally you have a parking slot, then we have closed it, we have started painting white and yellow. Why white and yellow? Because white and yellow is happy to reflect the sun during the summer, so it's cooling down the surface. We have had tennis table ground. We have made bench, and we also introduced the bike sharing in this square. This square was made for the purpose of to create a new space for the community dialogue and for the inclusive communication. But then this kind of initiative is also helping us to cooling down the city on the side, and on the other end to promote the public bike sharing, and third, also to promote this kind of sport initiative where the younger and the older generation are talking to each other and create even a more inclusive and well-being society in general. So when we come to all this solution, when we come to the emergency, when the pandemic, the COVID-19 emergency comes, has an impact on the cities. So the city where there was based on society, work and times and space sharing was suddenly closed. So what we should do? That was all our journey through the emergency, and we are still in the emergency. So it was a long way through. I added at the beginning of this timeline some of the plan that we already had developed in advance, because in the emergency management they always said that when an emergency comes, it's important what you deliver when the emergency comes, but it's even more important what you have done before the emergency to be ready to react to the emergency and even to recover after the emergency. So the city has identified a task force where we are part of, identifying three main pillars: environmental transition, digital infrastructures, and green wave funding. The green wave funding. So all these three elements has led the city to basically scale up the environmental transition where it was already in place before the emergency, and leading through the new recovery action of the city itself. So the recovery of the city itself is based on five main principles: equity, accessibility, renaturalization, decarbonization, and active participation. I want to focus a bit on equity and renaturalization, because the recovery plan of the cities has the same principle that has before our policy on the future of the cities: equity and renaturalization. We always been asked, and we also support the mayor that always ask us that for each euro we invest on climate change action, we have to invest an euro on equity. So it's meaning that the climate change action has always to be focused to also to increase the equality among the community, and how we can improve the built environment to make this possible. It's our challenge for the next few years. So from Piazza Aperte, that was an experience to increase the inclusiveness of our society, during the pandemic, we have started working on the Strada Aperte, that its name Open Street. So we developed 35 new kilometers of bike lines that was delivered between May and December. I know that seems to be a small number for a big city as Moscow, but for a city of Milan, it's really a challenging initiative. 35 kilometers in few months. We deliver basically in 4 months. We also extend the zone 30, so when the speed limit it's reached 30 kilometers, and we have significantly increased the walkable areas in the public space. That is, for us, is a key part of our community. The other concept we have introduced is the dual use infrastructure. So how we can use the same building for school, for example, between September and May, and when it comes May or September, or when it comes an emergency, school could be used not only for educational purpose, but also as a recovery place, for example, during our heat waves for the elderly people that normally are exposed. And not all of our elderly people has the economic capacity, for example, to buy a air conditioning system. So we want to offer an alternative for that, to get together, because they also feel lonely maybe during the summer or during the winter, and we want to create this social place and then this be the school. So the dual use infrastructure is one of the key pillars for us. Then the pavement of the city is to work on the precautionary measures of the emergency of the COVID. Because if there is not strict correlation between the COVID and the air pollution, we know that if reducing the air pollution and build a city that is more sustainable in terms of environment, it's reducing the exposure of the risk of our population to new kind of respiratory disease as was the COVID-19. So the paving and greening, for us, it's an important step to improve the quality of our air. We have launched now, since the 1st of January 2019, there is a new smoking ban in the city as well. Basically, it will be forbidden to smoke at San Siro Stadium, for example. So if some of you love Milan Inter football team, they can go to watch, but no more cigarette. There is a smoking ban in the parks, and there will be a smoking ban as well at the public transport stop. So this kind, why a smoking ban in the open space? Because for us, 8% of our pollution comes from smoking. That it seems a huge number, but it's the reality, and this is the truth. So it becomes necessary for this, also for the. So all these actions that was part of the recovery plan of the city are also part of the air and climate plan that has been as a vision on 2050, because our goals is to reach the carbon neutrality before 2050. This is the 5 pillars of our air and climate plan: the slow Milano, so moving more to cycle and pedestrian cities; a positive energy Milano, where we have more distributed energy production on the ground; cool Milano, inclusive Milan, and informed citizen to have a proactive community. All these 5 elements will lead us to a new way of living in the cities. So thank you very much for your time and for your invitation, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you for your impressive lecture. Do you hear translation?
Perfect. Thank you.
Очень интересный вопрос.
That is a very interesting presentation. Thank you for that. A question to that. As for the active participants, Milano was one of the cities suffering most during the pandemic. So what was the role, the contribution of the communities in opposing and battling COVID-19 and this anti-fragility test? So what was the community's contribution and role in countering that?
Well, let me first thank all the Milanese community and the international community that are present in Milan, because we're a really educated community. What they have done? Well, first of all, there was an unbelievable and incredible availability by all the community to support and to volunteering to the vulnerable population. So we have launched the Milano Aiuto, that is an emergency platform where volunteering or association could help to deliver food. Just to give you some number, over the first lockdown, was spring 2020, we deliver around 200,000 meals every day to vulnerable population. We reach 500,000 population with this food delivery. So there was a lot of community not only delivering, volunteering to deliver, but also to prepare the box, and even our commercial bar and restaurant were available to deliver to us food to support the community. On the other hand, what was important for our community that they learned, but that was also thanks to what we have done before. The deputy mayor, Ms. Cristina Tajani, launched a few years ago the sharing economy policy. The sharing economy is working on the local shop, is how we can create a service at the local district. And all these platforms and these services was essential for us to work with the community and to be close to everyone, even during the fragile. And be the first one after the Chinese cities. I mean, it was giving us also a leadership that is one of the leadership that we should be lucky to avoid somehow. But I would like again to thank all our community for the great effort they have done.
В этом смысле хочется сказать спасибо.
Well, in this context, we would like to thank also the citizens of Milano for their inspiring experience. We have been actually, all of us have been following the news, the developments in Italy, in Milano. One more short question, personal one. Everywhere, the smoking prohibition as of January 21, is that for Milano only or most of Italy?
Well, it's as a smoker, because I'm a smoker and supposed to quit, it's only for Milan. It's for the municipality of Milan at the moment, and we hope that we're gonna lead a movement also for the other cities to introduce the smoking ban. We believe that smoking ban, yes, it's an air pollution measures for us, but on the other hand, is especially measures to protect our community from respiratory disease. It is increasing. The COVID-19 is one of the examples, but we have already experienced other kind of disease in the past. It could come in the near future. So every kind of action that could reduce the impact of such disease on our community health, that is has to be implemented. So even as a smoker, I'm totally supportive of this initiative.
Thank you so much. That was a good presentation from Piero Pellizzaro, Director for Sustainability Issues, City and Municipality of Milano. Thank you. Stay with us. We'll have a small intermission and we'll be back at 5 p.m. That'll be a great showcase to share. Thank you and stay with us.